Welcome to the Tuesday, March 13th edition of William & Mary Television's Flat Hat Insider. I'm Lauren Stephenson. First, today is the latest news regarding the Surrey coal plant. The Dendron Town Council approved measures allowing Old Dominion Power Cooperative to build a coal plant in the town of Dendron, rolling back several years of steady work done by the Student Environmental Action Coalition. Despite the 55 people that spoke against it at the town meeting, the town council approved two measures recommended previously by the Surrey Zoning Commission that laid ground for the Surrey coal plant a week later. The first measure called for Dendron to be rezoned into a commercial and industrial space, while the second measure recommended a conditional use permit for the coal plant. The end of spring break means SA elections are just around the corner. There are a total of 6 pairs of candidates running for SA president and vice president. They are Dallin McNerney and Stacy LaRiviere, Noah Kim and Sky Sprayberry, Kurt Mills and Melanie Levine, Grace Colby and Alyssa Zhu, David Alpert and Megan Moore, and Andrew Kanakis and Andrew Salmone. Maxim magazine named Williamsburg's Gooch Drive the sexiest street in America in its March 2012 issue. Gooch Drive is home to several important spots on campus, including the Daily Grind, the Student Health Center, the Jimmy Laycock Football Center, and the Lodges. According to the article in Maxim, quote, students at the College of William & Mary can't help but snicker when they stroll this street, end quote. Gooch is slang for a certain part of the human anatomy. The campus's reaction to the accolade has been mixed. One student said the road with its lodges was charming, not sexy, and Daily Grind manager Scott Owen expressed skepticism at the award as well, saying that sometimes the obscure placement of Gooch Drive leads to lost shipments. Another candidate has joined the race for the 3 Williamsburg City Council positions. Ginger Crapse of the class of '89 successfully qualified to run in the race, according to Williamsburg voter registrar Wynn Souter. Candidates were required to complete a petition with 125 signatures, among other forms. Crapse was held a strong presence in the area. She holds degrees in history and government from the college, taught for 13 years in Newport News Public Schools, and has since been involved in administrative and marketing programs in hotel and retail businesses in the Williamsburg area. Crapse will be on the ballot with 3 incumbents: Mayor Clyde Hallman, a professor of economics at the college, Vice Mayor Paul Frayling, class of '83, and Judith Knudsen, a former college assistant dean of admissions. And now to the interview. And Ginger Crapse joins us now for the interview. Thank you so much for joining us. Congrats on making it on the ballot. So to begin, very simply, why are you running for City Council?
It's very simple and very complicated. I came here in 1960 as a 7th grader and fell in love with the town and with the college. And as you know, when you're in 7th grade, you know everything. And I went home and told my parents that this was where I wanted to live and that I was going to go to William & Mary for college. And my parents proceeded to tell me that, yeah, we'll see where we're stationed when you finish high school, and we were in France. So the likelihood of going to William & Mary was 0 and none. It took me an extra 20 years, but I eventually got back here and got to go to William & Mary, my alma mater, and my town. It was a little delayed, but I eventually got back here. I love the college and I love my town. And what made me decide to run was that I saw some things here that I didn't think were the way they could be and the way they should be. Part of it was I have seen town and gown relations kind of deteriorate. I used to own a bed and breakfast at the corner of where Ludwell is and Jamestown Road. And at that time, we had students living on the opposite corner, and obviously lots of students behind us. And I had a wonderful relation with the kids. But I had a very strong sense of community. And I think that we need to regain that sense of community. And part of the way you regain that sense of community is you don't have a hostile attitude towards your neighbors.
So it sounds like mentioning that you lived near Ludwell Apartments.
Right in the middle
of
them.
There. What do you think of the 3-person rule?
To be very honest, I have a little issue with being obsessed with the number 3. I don't know that it's necessarily a number as much as it is good old-fashioned common sense. At the time that we lived there, the house across the street from us had a horrible parking situation. I noticed the other day that they fixed it. And they actually put in, what a concept, parking. And I think most people in town are concerned about two things. One is whether or not our neighbors, whether they're students or other renters or just ordinary people in town, are good citizens. And whether or not you get along with the people, I think a lot of that has to do with communication. If you never talk to each other and if you have a hostile attitude, you're probably not going to get along. It's amazing how much can be accomplished by walking next door with a plate of brownies. And that's what we did. We went over and we met the kids and we talked to them and we never had a problem. And I think that's the first step in getting along, regardless of who it is you have to communicate. The second thing is whether or not the property can handle 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. If it's a 2-bedroom or a 3-bedroom or a 4-bedroom, you have to take that into consideration and then use some common sense. I hate to see a property that has 2 bedrooms have 6 people in it. It's probably not safe. But at the same time, if it has 4 bedrooms, I don't see a problem with 4 or 5 people. If there's parking, if the property has room. I know that there have been some issues in town with that, and I know that there are some people in town who wouldn't agree with me. There's a house up the street from me that easily has room for more than 3 people. And quite frankly, I have a problem with landlords, whether they're here in town or absentee, saying to students, look, 3 of you put your name on this, move 6 in, the town can't really do anything about it. I think that's sneaky. I don't like to see it happen. And anybody in this town who thinks that's not happening has their head in the sand. And that's not the way to deal with things, because all that does is create more anger and more hostility. So let's stop doing that. Let's talk to our neighbors and let's figure out ways to resolve this. And as I've said to a couple of the students that I've talked to, I don't ever want to be in a situation where I have to say to somebody's mom, you know, we were so obsessed with the number 3 that when we had a safety issue, the house burned down. Your child died, but don't worry about it because there were only 3 people in that house. And we didn't care whether or not we had a serious safety inspection program. And I've talked to some of the people that own some of the property in town and told them that I want a really serious safety inspection program, not just for the students, but for everybody in town that rents. But at the same time, I don't want anybody tramping through anybody's house and invading their privacy. I don't want anybody tramping through their yard and invading their privacy. It's got to be done in such a way that the students maintain their privacy. Renters, whether they're students or not, maintain their privacy. Because I was a renter and I was a student, and this is your time to kind of spread your wings, and you don't want somebody looking through your bedroom windows and checking to see how many people are there. There is a house up the street from me that my son rented, and the way they turned the hall light on and off was with an oven glove because they forgot to wire a switch for it. I don't think that's safe. And I'm more concerned about that than whether or not there's 3 people in the house.
So it sounds like, you know, you disagree obviously with some of the things that City Council has implemented. You talk about running and wanting to create change. What condition do you think the City Council is in now with, you know, you're running against 3 incumbents, right. and in the interview with the Flat Hat, in the article that appears this week, you talk about, you know, holding them accountable. So
let me first of all say they're 3 very nice people. I don't have anything personally against any of the 3 of them, and I think they have the best of intentions. And I don't want to have anybody think that I have any dislike or personal animosity against any of the 3 of them. I don't. And I don't want anybody to think that I'm in there trying to say, oh, we need to turn everything upside down. I don't think that kind of atmosphere is going to make anything any better either. I'd like to see everybody use some common sense. If we have a property that will reasonably hold 4 or 5 people with off-street parking that works for everybody, then I'd like to be able to find a common ground, an area, and a way in which we can do it. I know that there's a lot of people in town that are very concerned about that. And what I'd like to be able to do, and I'm hoping that I can get elected to City Council so that we can do this, is to say to the people in the town, let's try to come together and do this. And let's reduce the animosity. Let's be a community. Let's get the students, the town and gown relations back to where it used to be. And let's find a way to be friendlier and have what I had when I first bought the B&B and have the rapport with the kids. I think that for the most part, the kids at William and Mary are wonderful kids, and I think we need to trust them a little more. And I think we can, and I think we can find a way to work it out. Does every property in town need to have 5 or 6 kids in it? Absolutely not. But are there properties in town that should have some more leeway? And can we approach it on a common sense basis and on an individual basis? And I think most of the kids, if you talk to them that way and say, look, this house really could hold 4 or 5 kids, but come on, this one really only has room for 2 or 3. Let's be reasonable and let's work it out on a common sense basis in a way that's safe for everybody. I think that most of the kids would appreciate that and would be willing to work with us if we'll work with them. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'd like to be able to do.
Now, how do you, you mentioned bringing down the level of animosity and returning to the place that the town was when you bought the bed and breakfast. How do you think it got to that point?
I think that some people chose the wrong words. And words can be very powerful. And if you say the wrong thing and you stir people up by choosing the wrong words, then you can create a lot of animosity amongst people. And unfortunately, sometimes just an accidental bad choice of a word can set people off against each other. And I don't want to do that. And I don't think anybody in town really wants to do that.
Now, you've lived in Williamsburg, you're a graduate of the college. Do you have one piece of advice that you would give students who are here at the college right now?
Regardless of what you major in what you love, take the courses you want to take, enjoy yourself while you're here. It's your one shot to explore who you are and do what you want to do. There are jobs out there. They may not be in the field you think they're going to be in. You may not be doing what you think you're going to be doing. And regardless of what anybody tells you about what the economy is out there, there are jobs out there. Use your college network to find them. And don't be afraid to take a job in a completely different field. You never know where it might lead you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, and best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. For more stories, pick up the latest edition of The Flat Hat and check out our website, flathatnews.com. And be sure to follow William and Mary Television and The Flat Hat on Twitter and like us on Facebook. We'll see you next week for another edition of The Flat Hat Insider.